Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to be taking you through the line conventions part 2 and the orthographic projection presentation. So if you open up the line conventions part 2, it'll be this presentation. And throughout the year, we've learned about how different lines vary in size and style and thickness, and they all communicate a message. So we are now down to part 2 of this, where we're going to be learning about the projection lines, center lines, and hidden lines. So projection lines are normally when we are doing something that has multiple views. So you can see these views are flat. So that's kind of what we're going to be getting into here in the orthographic projection presentation. So the lines that you may or may not see that pop up sometimes in SolidWorks, these are little light thin lines, very light thin lines, that are just helping transfer information from one image to the next image, or one view to the next view. As you can see, this little light thin line here, kind of projecting this corner up to this corner, kind of lining them up. Okay, these are very similar to construction lines. Most people would just call them construction lines as well. The next one would be a center line. So a center line marks the center of a curve. So on this view, this is the top view of this shape. Looking straight down, you can see the center line has a long dash, short dash, and then a long dash in the middle. If you're looking at a curve from like an aerial view, like a top view like this, you don't really know that that is a curve unless you have this. Okay, looking at it from a different view, here we can actually see it's almost a complete circle. It's about a half a circle. So left and right, this center mark kind of breaks it up left and right, and from the bottom to the top part of it. So it's two center marks over top of one another. Okay, sometimes those kind of look like crosshairs. So you've probably seen this realistic example before. If you ever have gone hunting or play some video game where you're looking through a scope, you see that crosshair section in it. And if I actually go to the presentation mode of this, you'll actually be able to see the animation that pops up a lot better. So this is kind of what it would look like. And if I break that down, we have our long line, small dash, long line. So that is a center mark. Okay, and if I turn it the other way, it's also the same thing. It's a center mark. Okay, so the last one is a hidden line. And this is much easier to do or to show you if I had this physical object in front of you. But doing it online, you're just going to have to kind of look at this picture up here. So you see how the front view looks like this. Okay, and we have that part right here. If I look at it from the side, only the side, so this side right here, I can't actually see this part or this part that's cut out. So if you take your hand and you cover over all of this stuff and you only look at this small rectangle, you can't tell that that stuff is not there. So when you're doing these flat views like this, these orthographic views, we use a hidden line. And a hidden line is a dashed line. And that indicates that behind this wall, there's something missing. So at the bottom of this curve, that's right there, straight across is a hidden line. At the top of this cutout, that's right here, straight across, that is this hidden line. Okay, so we're indicating that something on the other side of this wall is hidden with that dashed line. So sometimes you may have the situation where lines line up on top of one another. For instance, down here at the bottom, when this thing goes away, down here at the bottom, you have a cutout and the edge of it is right there. So if I move this straight up to my top view, it should be right here. Well, why isn't that hidden? It's not hidden because this corner is an object line. So it's called line precedence. What shows more importance? Okay, a solid line is going to cover over a dotted line. And if you simply just drew a dotted line on a piece of paper and then took your pencil and drew over top of it, like what we have right here, obviously you're not going to see the dotted line. It's just going to be a solid line. Okay, so that's line precedence. What line is taking more importance? So that's the line conventions part 2. If you move over to the orthographic projection presentation, that would be this one. This one I'm going to try to walk you through the best I can. This is obviously something that's a lot easier to explain when we're in person. Normally we would do a bell ringer. You can do that if you'd like. It's not graded. It will automatically grade you and email you, but no, this doesn't count for anything. This is just to see what you know and what you don't know. So if you'd like to do this, you can. So the little review that we would have, remember a 3D object is called 3D because it shows three different measurements, height, width, and depth. So height is going up and down, width is left and right, and depth is front to back. Okay. So thinking about this in terms of sides, your front view, like the front of you, if you physically look at somebody else, the front of them, you can only really see their height and their width for the front of them. If they rotate to the side, you can see their height and their depth. Okay, you can't see their width anymore. And if you were above them looking straight down at them, you would see their width and their depth. You would not be able to see their height. So each side shows two measurements. Okay, and the individual sides here are called orthographics. That's why this is called the orthographic projection. Okay, so you almost have to imagine stuff in a glass box. So you can see the little shape down here. If you were to look at it from the front, what it would look like from the top and from the side. Okay, there's a little video here, so if you do actually open up the presentation, you can play this video. Kind of takes this object and folds it out if you had this glass box. And if we were in the actual classroom, I did make this actual thing, so I would have unfolded this and passed it around the room. But for right now, I found this little video that animates it for you. Okay, another object showing you the exact same thing. So you can kind of see the front, the left, the right, the top, the bottom, the back. Okay, same object. Now, why do we do this in the flat views? Well, this is called multi-view, okay? It's when you have two or more two dimensions of a 3D object. And this is the main form of communication between designers and manufacturers. So if we're designing a car here in Pennsylvania and we're shipping that design out to California to be produced, which a lot of cars are made in different places other than state you're in, they're going to send them mechanical drawings like this. It's going to have a rendering of the top, the front, the right, maybe an isometric. It's going to have multiple different views. Okay, so this is an object that you've drawn before. This was, I believe, assignment 22. You can see here that it shows the top view, and if you were to physically hold this, how it would rotate down to the front and then rotate over to the side. So if you're actually doing a multi-view, you would have your top view, your front view, your right side, and you'd actually have your isometric up here. So just to kind of show you this, I did have this part open in SolidWorks. There's my isometric. Here's my front view. And as it rotates around like this, straight down, the top view here looks like that. And if I actually turn this to wireframe, you can see the hole that would be through here. That's the left and right. Unfortunately, it doesn't show the center mark. Now, if I rotate back to the right side view here, okay, rotating around, I'm going to go to my side view. This is what the side view would look like. And again, there's that little hidden line of where the hole starts and stops. So it's better to see this in this picture though. Okay. So another example, this is your top view that would be up here. Your top view and your front view share the width. Okay, so the width is right in between here. Your front and right side share height. And then oddly enough, your top and your right share depth. Okay, so we don't really show a left side, a bottom, a back. That's not necessary unless you have really, really, really complicated parts. Say like if you were doing like a phone or something that has a different front than back. But most of the time you can get all the information from the top, front, and right. Okay, so quiz yourself on this a little bit. You might want to pause the video and you might want to kind of think through this and say, which orthographic view do each one of these have in common? So is it the front view, meaning you're looking at it from this way? Okay, so that would be this dark shaded side. Is it the top view? That's the light shaded side. Or is it the right side view? That would be this side. I guess that's the medium color. So what side does it have in common? Well, it's actually the top view is what's in common there. So I drew each one of these as well. And I'll try to go through this quickly. So the front view is this. Obviously, that staircase look is different than any one of these other ones. So this is the second part. So right there, the front view is already out. I'll go back to that first one again. The right side view looks like this. You kind of have three straight lines. So if I move just back to this single one and I move to the right side view, that does not have those three single lines. So the right side view is out. So the top view now, let's look at the top view. Well, we have a rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. Okay, if I go to the top view on this one, top view, we've got rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. If I go to my third part, that had kind of two sloping, slanted parts here. If I go to my top view, rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. And if I go to my last one that had this curve on it, even though it's curved, when I go to the top view, we see where it starts and stops. So we have rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. So again, the top view here is the correct answer. Now, if you'd like to see how much you learned, you could do the exit ticket and it will automatically grade you and it will email you back your results.